Welcome to the Ask Amanda Show, where we solve everyday problems for the small business owner. Get nuggets of inspiration, access to experts, and answers to those burning questions preventing you from growth. Here's your host, Amanda Benson-Tilch.
Welcome to another episode of the Ask Amanda Show. I am here today with Allison Lindeman, my beautiful guest, talking about digital marketing best practices. Allison is with WSI Internet Consulting, and let me tell you a little bit about why I chose her to be my guest today. After 17 years in the corporate management world with Farmers Insurance in a couple different directors positions, Allison joined WSI in 2004. She has tons of expertise in the digital media world, as well as strategic planning, competitor analysis, persona development, social media, customer experience, conversion optimization, and particularly SEO, which we're going to talk about today. She has co-authored 2 books, just published one in October of 2019, which includes chapters from digital marketing experts worldwide. She is also the recipient of 3 Web Marketing Association Awards in 2019. She speaks regularly on digital marketing best practices and strategies, which is why I chose her to be my guest today, providing massive value for you guys. You might want to get a pen and paper out because there are going to be some things that you're going to want to write down. Trust me. Before we dive in and talk all things digital marketing, I want to hear from our sponsors, because without our sponsorships, none of this would be possible. So when we get back, we're going to jump right in to talking about a little bit more about Allison and her expertise, but about power partnerships and like why you would decide to have a digital marketing, building strategies around your digital marketing, and a lot more. So we'll be right back after word from our sponsors.
As business owners and professionals, you have so much on your plate. You never stop to think about your headshots, marketing video, or personal branding until you need it now. Then you're scrambling to figure out what to wear, how to match your brand, what to say, how to reach your target audience, and how to use your visuals in a way that actually makes an impact in your marketing.
You quickly realize you don't have any of the answers because you're not supposed to. You're not a professional marketer, model, or TV personality. You're an executive who needs efficiency, superior quality, and a little direction. You also want to feel good when you step in front of the camera, and maybe even have a little bit of fun too.
Hi, this is Brian and Lindsay Schlick with SchlickArt Photography and Video. We provide professional headshots, marketing photography, business videos, video subscriptions, and more to help you market your business with compelling visuals and a streamlined experience. We guide you through the process every step of the way so you can feel your best on camera and make the biggest impact in your marketing.
Visit SchlickArt.com to see how we can help you take your brand to the next level and look good while doing it.
So welcome back. So we are here today with Allison Lindeman, my guest that is the owner of WSI in Santa Clarita Valley. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how we met, because I want to share that story because I think it's pretty unique. I was working for a local magazine.
Yep.
You won an award, which there's plenty of those.
You walked into my office.
I walked in and introduced myself, and you were like, oh, a little taken aback. But then we sat for hours and talked that first day.
It was the start of a great friendship and a great business relationship.
Yes, I just couldn't agree more. And then I think we really bonded on a trip that we took together with a
winery?
Yeah, but we were with a business, a networking group.
Yep.
Yeah. And we went to a winery, and, wine just loosened y'all up, and we became instant friends. I feel like really where we thought, she's smarter than me. I want to be around her more. I think we both thought this great connection of what we wanted to be and become and how we can help and serve people.
I'd definitely say that was the start of us being, besides friends, but discussion partners.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I look to you for like a lot of things.
And I do you.
Well,
so,
thank you.
Yeah,
but I feel like we were great, idea bouncer offers.
Yep.
I just made that word up.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. But so let's talk a little bit. You brought this term to my attention, power partners.
I feel like I kind of coined that word.
Oh, maybe you did.
And now a lot of people talk about it.
I think this could be true. Like, because as I decided to leave that publishing company and start my business, you were one of the first persons I turned to talk about it with. And you instantly, in your idea mind, started thinking about how can we work together and with a graphic designer as well. And this term power partners kind of came up.
Yeah.
And I mean, we sat down and actually talked about all having an office together. That's how serious this was. And you now have that with the graphic designer. Yeah, with Hillary Brotwater.
There's a lot of though, like what ifs. What
Right.
could we be bigger together? You know, could we bounce synergies off each other? But
Right.
even though we didn't literally office together, I mean, it was the start of what I'd call a beautiful power partnership.
Yeah. Well, explain that a little bit more. Like, what's the idea around, because I think this is great. You know, we talk a lot, I talk a lot with my clients about collaborating with other businesses that you think share the same audience, and how both businesses could benefit from collaborating together.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of what Power Partners is. Like, what's the idea around that for you in the digital marketing world?
Yeah. And really, I think it's true for any business, is just getting some like-minded individuals who do, like you said, share an overlapping target market. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but for the most part, what I'm looking for in an ideal client is pretty similar to what you're looking for.
Right.
Or that you work with people that fit my ideal client.
Or the needs of my client are mostly what you can service.
Yeah, or at least a piece of it.
Right.
But there's a lot of know, like, and trust involved. I think it goes both ways. It's between, let's say, you and I in our power partnership, that how we respect each other, we work together, we know each other and how we work, we value each other. But also when you're introducing a power partner to one of your clients, you're giving what is a very, very warm referral.
Yeah,
and so it's
a lead.
It's very different than a lead that might call my phone because they found me in
Wherever.
online directory or, you know, wherever. But when I get a referral from a power partner, of which you're one of my top sources, I mean, really, that lead is mine to lose. So that person knows about me. You're able to give testimonials. You've used me before. You can sell the benefits. So, but when they call in or somehow you've introduced us, they're already very like warm to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are a huge part of my business, and I know a lot of other businesses could benefit from figuring out who could be their power partners.
Let's talk about that for a second, because when I love that you said it's mine to lose. That warm lead is mine to lose. So that is one of the topics that I struggle with some of my clients is, you know, we've brought this up. I would just keep using this example because it actually did happen to me. You know, somebody wanted something from their business and they wanted their, what's the purpose of this marketing piece? So I want my phone to ring. So then we build everything around their phone ringing and all the systems, but when I call them, nobody's there to answer the phone. So they lost that money they spent on that ad or that marketing campaign because their follow through. So I think that's crucial. So like, what systems do you have set in place to not lose that lead? So for you, for example, normally I do like an email introduction to clients and I say, hey, this is why I think you guys should work together and why they should, you know, blah, blah, blah. You respond right away or you call them right away.
Yeah. So, I mean, any lead, whether that lead came in on the phone, I don't know where they came from, whether they're a very warm lead from you. I mean, that's just part of lead management, you know? But on top of it, I mean, I would consider, like all of our businesses, I think all of us have VIP clients, let's say. They have multiple services with us. They've been with us a long time. You got to look at the revenue that you're getting from a client, but you're our VIP. I mean, so when you have a power partner as a lead generation source, I better take good care of you because you're sending me a steady stream of opportunities. You know, Amanda, you cut to the front of the line with our business. I mean, you do.
Did you guys hear
that?
know,
so I mean, that's good business practices. That's taking care of people. I mean, you jump to get things to us, so we need to jump back and deliver things to you.
So that's a key takeaway, though, from this term, power partners. If you're considering like collaborating with somebody, you want to make sure that you have systems in place to respond to those people immediately, so that they continue to be a good power partner source for you, and you don't lose them as a customer.
So it's your reputation too. Yeah. Because you have told one of your valued clients or someone who you're a sphere of influence to that I'm a good digital marketer, that I'm going to take really good care of them. And they're going to assume I'm going to take at least as good care or as good a care that you are. Right. So I'm part of your reputation. And if I don't do that, I'm not going to be your power partner anymore.
Yeah, bye. Yep. Pretty much is how it would work. Yeah, I think that's true. Let's shift gears a little bit while we're talking about this, and just because speaking of power partners, like how I just would warm lead somebody over to you, how would, say they don't have a person like me, so how would a business decide what digital marketing strategies are right for them and why they should call you as far as helping them with their digital marketing strategies, like if they didn't get it through me?
Okay, yeah. Well, that's a multifaceted question with a lot of answers, I guess. But I mean, the first thing I would do is start with making sure that the client, the business owner, understands who your marketing persona is. Who are you marketing to? You're probably marketing to a number of different personas, and really understanding the demographics and psychographics behind those marketing personas. You should know that before you start any digital marketing strategy. So just to try to think of an example, let's say you're a heating and air conditioning company, which is like an HVAC, which is a referral that you have given me before. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So that HVAC, I'll call it, that heating and air conditioning company might market to residents, just any house that has an air conditioner. They might want to market to, let's say, realtors, because they're often having to fix heating and air conditioners to close the deal. Like
after they do the inspection,
marketing
or something.
to someone in like managing a building, for example, or owning a building. And so where you might hang out to find those leads, or how you market to them, or the types of search words those people are putting in would vary depending on their marketing persona.
Right.
You know, so if, let's say, on a residential, if you want to target market, because that's the idea, it might be people that are of this age that live in this type of community that maybe is the nicer, older home because the air conditioning might break, right? So that's part of what you're identifying when you look for Holly Homemaker, whatever your marketing persona is. A business should plan those out ahead of time so that then they can develop marketing strategies that get in front of those people.
And that is one thing that I talk a lot about with my clients, is just like who's your your buyer persona we talk about. So that's something that I have a program I help them build out, and then we turn it over to you.
Which I like.
Yeah, I know.
Because then they're coming in with information that we need to do what we're experts at.
Right. And I feel like not a lot of people actually do that, and then they think like, well, why isn't, I did this whole marketing program around trying to get new, clients for my, HVAC, but it's not working. It's because they haven't dialed down who they actually are trying to market to. They just have a good piece of content, a good photo and a technician working on something, and they think they want to put that out, but it's not doing them a service because they haven't dialed down what they want to do with it. Well, what else that things that they can do?
Well, the other thing, and sometimes you talk about these things because of things that you see that aren't being done well. And if you see a lot of that as a consultant, it needs to be worked on. But what I would say is that a business really needs to understand the value of a lead. So you've got the value of a lead, you've got the value of a client, and then you've got the term lifetime value of a client, which I bet you talk to your clients about those things too.
Yes.
But how can you really look at a marketing strategy if you don't understand what a client or a lead is worth to you? And so they need to go through, as business owners, the process of understanding what a lead's worth. I mean, if you're selling gift baskets, let's say, and those gift baskets, you're making about $50 each time you sell one. How much money are you going to spend on a marketing activity to get one $50 gift basket? You also have to look at things like, I'll go back to the HVAC example, but the lifetime value. So it may not be about the first conversion when they say, oh, my air conditioner is not cold enough, come over and check it out. And you come, that service call probably cost that business more than they made in profit, right? But the whole idea is, if you're targeting the right people and you provide good service, like you said, eventually that 25-year-old air conditioner is going to need to be replaced, and who are they going to call?
And if you provided a good service on that service call, they'll tell their neighbors and their friends when the next time somebody's like, hey, I'm in search of an air conditioning guy.
That's right.
That's exactly
But in the calculation about how much, what marketing should I invest in and what does it cost? I mean, you need to look at more than just getting that one repair. So that client or that lead is worth potentially whatever the lifetime is of providing service to that client.
How does one determine a budget for digital marketing? Like, I get asked this all the time. Like, I don't want to run Facebook ads because, like, how much is that going to cost me? Or SEO, how much is it going to cost me? And I always go back, well, you know, like what's the line item on your budget for marketing? And do you have a specific for digital marketing? Because that could be different than like print ads or, you know, swag or whatever else you want to do for marketing, you know, client gifts or things like that. But do you have a specific for digital marketing? I always kind of have to go back with, well, what is your budget? And they don't know how to determine a budget. Do you have any
Well, and I think it's completing some of these things that we talked about in first, maybe before trying to come up with a budget. Because if you think about it, no matter what someone says their budget is, if you or I came up with a plan that said, for every $1,000 you spend in advertising, you're going to get $4,000 back.
Right.
How many 1,000s are you going to come up with?
Yeah.
I mean, so before we meet, they might say, I only have 1,000.
You know what else? My biggest thing too is making sure that you can receive the business that you're willing to spend on marketing to get it.
Yeah.
So making sure that you have systems in place to be able to answer the phone, take the order, send the guy out, like all the things. Because if you don't do that,
you're done.
Why are we spending the money? You know, like you could lose the lead. You know, it's the same thing.
I mean, some might say it's a good problem to have, but it really isn't.
No,
I mean, we can have a whole discussion then on what that does for online reputation and all that when you have missteps or unable to staff for your needs, things like that. But yeah, the whole thing works together.
Yeah,
all of it.
It is a fluid system for sure. Well, is there one more thing about just planning digital strategies, maybe another tip that you could offer to
so the other big thing would be doing your research. So whether you do it, I do it for clients, the client does it themselves, but I mean, they can't. And
you overdo it, I want to say. I am so impressed by I'm like blown away, and I'm thinking like, why, like you don't know what you're getting with this dollar that you're spending on Allison. Like you provide so much research to people.
But the thing about especially digital compared to traditional, and even traditional advertising data is better than it has been in the past. But I mean, you have to know, and maybe it's something we talk a little bit more about later in this, but you have to know what search behavior is. You have to know what people are searching for. You have to know that those are a match for the products and services that you're offering.
Yes,
you got to spend time doing your research.
Yes, which is huge. Well, before we dive into further, because this is going to go on forever, I feel like we could have our own podcast just about all of the things digital marketing, I feel like. But I want to just hear from our sponsors really quick. But before I jump into our actual sponsorships, I want to give a little shout out to a dear friend of mine, Diana Sherrick, who has just launched her catering personal chef business, if you will. So it's called Delish Culinary Design. You could find her on Instagram. I've actually just hired her to do some personal chefing for me. I have very busy days. She will make and plan dinners for you, bring them over, put them in your fridge. Your family gets home, heats it up, and it's done. So if you are interested in that, all of her information is going to be in our show notes. I'll tag her everywhere. But Delish Culinary Design, check her out. And when we get back from our sponsors, we're going to dive a little bit more into probably some search strategies. I want to talk about branding strategies and all the things that Google knows about you, which we can't really talk about all that. But when we get back, we're going to talk about those things. We'll be right back. If you're a business owner or entrepreneur, then you know how to hustle. You show up every day, you put in the work, and you dedicate yourself day in and day out to making that amazing dream come true. But building a brand doesn't always go as planned. Sometimes it feels like no matter how hard you try, you just can't get past a certain block, fix a specific problem, or take that next step on a daunting project. How do you get yourself from where you are to where you want to be? That's when you ask Amanda. Hi, I'm Amanda Benson-Tilch of Ask Amanda, a boutique consulting firm driven by passion and good ideas. I help solve everyday problems for the small business owner, from customer service to marketing to goal setting. I've never met a client I wasn't able to help, because if I can't solve your problem myself, I'll connect you to the person who can. Are you ready to finally break through your toughest problems? Visit askamandaconsulting.com to see how I can help. Because if you ask me, you'll get a solution. So welcome back to the Ask Amanda Show. I'm here with Allison Lindeman of WSI. We were talking all things digital marketing. I hope you had your pen and paper because she just dropped some massive value to you guys on that first little segment, but we're gonna keep going because it's not done. We have a ton of stuff that we wanna share. Why don't we jump right into competitive research or competitor research, because that's one of the things that my clients do not do is know what your competitor is doing, find out what they are doing, and, try to make it your own. I'm not a fan of like copying people, but it's very important to know what your competitor's doing. Why don't you share with me what that means in the digital marketing world?
Okay, love to. So, well, one, a business needs to understand, because we might go in as consultants and say, who are your competitors? And they may answer, and in all truth, they may not be the same as what I think the competitors are, because they're thinking, who's across the street from me, who do I know about because I know them and they sell the same things as me. But if that's not who's on the first page with them, if it's a search strategy, it's not their competitor.
So that's what it means. So you're talking about in the digital world, on Google, basically, on the first page of Google. That's really who you're talking about when you say.
For a search strategy, yes.
Okay.
It's who else am I competing against on the first page? One, if you're not on the first page, it's not a good strategy.
Right.
So if as a marketer, I don't believe that I can get you, business owner, on the first page of a search, then there's no point in me doing it. So that would be one. Another one would be, they may tell us what they think people are searching for that are looking for them. Whatever that search phrase is.
But that might not be the actual thing.
Exactly.
Right.
So if I do a search for that, they could do this themselves and see. And when I look at who's all on the first page, they're businesses that don't do anything similar to what they do.
Got it.
It's probably not a good search term, because it turns out people are really looking for something else, or they're just in possibly learning mode or something. Also, someone may say to me, "Oh, I'll give you $1 million if you can get me at the top of Google on ABC words." Okay. Well, so I do, and I get my $1 million. But if nobody's searching for that,
who cares if you're on the first page?
Then great.
What's the point?
Great for me, but not so good for them. So this stuff has to be validated.
Yeah.
There has to be research, and we have all that data.
So that's what you do. So that's what I want to say. The value the reason why somebody should hire a digital marketer, particularly you, again, and I say this because I've worked with Allison on multiple projects, but she just over delivers, which I think is fantastic. And that's who we need on our team, right? But you really dive down into that business, what they actually provide, like what their services or what they're selling. You do a ton of research around that, and you would come up with like search engine words for them to help get them where they need to be.
And then taking that research, matching it with the marketing personas that we talked about, with the territory in which they choose to market. Because again, don't want to throw money on advertising in areas that you can't even serve. So if you're back to the heating and air conditioning, if they don't drive to San Diego and they're in LA, I don't want to be spending any advertising dollars or even natural search or optimization when they can't deliver it.
Yeah.
So I mean, figuring that stuff out is part of a solid plan. And besides just the search that we're talking about, there is other types of advertising that we can look at. Maybe search isn't the best thing for them. Maybe their budget isn't aligned with that. But you've got really, just like traditional marketing that I know you're an expert in, there's push advertising and then there's pull advertising.
So explain what those the difference of that is, because that's fascinating.
Yeah. So pull advertising is more like the SEO, the search, Google AdWords, if people are familiar with advertising on Google. But these people out there are searching for you. You already know it, because they're putting in air conditioning repair Los Angeles. They're looking for someone to fix their air conditioner. They're not really wanting to. No, they could be putting in a search to buy an air conditioner too, which if you sell air conditioners, that's
great.
Gold.
Yeah.
And so you are looking for strategies to get in front of people who are already looking for your product or service, right? So then there's push advertising. So think of the I shouldn't say the old days, but before digital, it was just a commercial on TV. That TV wasn't targeted. They didn't understand the audience. You're just sitting on your couch and a bunch of commercials are getting pushed. That's where the pushed at you. They have no idea. Radio. They have no idea if you need it, or you're reading the newspaper. It doesn't mean there's no targeting at all, but there's not a lot of targeting.
It might be your area.
You're just hoping why I'm kicking back and I see a furniture store commercial that I decide, I'm going to go buy a couch versus searching for a couch.
Yeah.
So
that's the difference between the push and pull ads.
Yeah, but in the digital world, there's still very, very solid push advertising. I mean, social media would be one of them. Of course, there is social media advertising too, but you can target that audience. And so if I was like, I'm a tennis player, I like playing tennis, right? So I got to buy my crap to play tennis, right? So if I'm searching for tennis rackets and tennis balls or whatever, if
skirts and shoes
and all the cute stuff, then if I'm a company that sells tennis gear, okay, I want to get in front of me if I'm doing a search for tennis racket, okay? But if I'm just surfing the internet, if I'm on my social media, if I'm watching videos, digital knows enough about you now, scary or not scary, whatever you think about that, but it knows already that my age group, my interests, it knows that I like tennis, it knows I'm in tennis groups,
push ads.
It knows it's in my Facebook profile, something about tennis. It knows that I've previously searched on tennis websites. And so if you can understand all that and how to market in front of those people, that's still a form of push advertising, but it's very, very targeted to a demographic who likely has an interest.
Right, which is key. And I know that you guys specialize in that. You do that for the gym that I run in Burbank. We really target the zip code, the area, anybody that's clicked on anything like fitness related or outdoor walk or a bike ride or anything, and we push ads to them. Yeah, which I know is a strategy that works like above and beyond. And would you say, because I want to talk a little bit about Facebook ads, like down the road here a little bit. Again, that could be like a whole nother topic for us, I feel like. But I really think the key that I want people to take away is the SEO, because I don't think enough businesses, the SEO is not just about getting to the top of the page on Google. It's really about what's in your website that would drive somebody, because even if you're a niche, you know, it's hard to get at the top of the page in that. So like, it's really just about driving people to your website. Yeah.
It's kind of like what you mentioned earlier about kind of the fail when everything doesn't come together, like with customer experience.
Right.
But that's the same thing with think about it like your home-based properties, like all your digital properties that exist online. I mean, the website's probably the biggest one, the social media accounts, any video you have, any blog you wrote, all that. So if you spend all this time and trouble and money investing in a digital strategy, if you're not taking them to a good home base, then it fails. So even as a consultant, I mean, I don't really want to work with a client that isn't going to pull all those pieces together, because really I'm going to get fired in 6 months. If I bring you all the leads that you could want based on your right target, you know, we do all the things right, but your website sucks. You know, it's not going to convert. So it's going to have a bad ROI. So all this stuff. So if someone's looking for their tips or what they need to do, you've got to make sure that you've got a good web presence before you do any marketing.
I want to talk further about that in our next little segment about getting your house in order. And I don't mean your house where you live. I mean the house where your business is. So pause on that, because I think that's part of it. The social media, your marketing, you know, the everything from answering your phones, like getting your house in order. So let's talk about that when we come back. We're going to hear from our sponsors, but I just want to give another shout out to a special one, actually, because I think this is going to be helping with getting your house in order. So I have a great client that I worked with at the Hyatt for years. Her name is Ashley Carlson, and she is a virtual assistant. A lot of people ask me to help them with some of these things that I don't do. I refer them to Ashley, which are getting your house in order, actually. But she can help you with calendar management, expense reporting, and meeting and agendas, and like just like overall a lot of things. So if you're interested in having a virtual assistant, then I want you to call Ashley Carlson. Her information is going to be in all of my show notes and all my posts and text. So when we get back from our sponsors, we're going to talk more with Allison about getting your home in order, what that means digitally. Okay, when we come right back.
Marketing isn't just about designing the right ad or creating the right slogan. It's about finding the right audience to engage with your ad. Capturing the attention of the right person is all it takes to make a client for life in today's digital world. Easier said than done, right? What if you knew where your audience was already spending their time? SchlickArt video podcasts provide a platform for local influencers to share their voices with key communities here in Santa Clarita. That means audience members know, like, and trust the recommendations of their hosts. That's why sponsoring a SchlickArt video podcast is a great solution for your business. You get the benefit of a built-in audience, and most importantly, you walk away with a fully produced video commercial for your business that you can use however you like. Are you ready to reach your audience where they want to be found? Call Lindsay at SchlickArt at 313-3907 to inquire about becoming a sponsor for your favorite SchlickArt video podcast, because it's time to join the conversation.
Welcome back to the Ask Amanda Show. I'm here with my guest, Allison Lindemann of WSI. She is the expert of all things digital marketing. If you haven't guessed that by now, just go back and watch the last couple of minutes. We are going to talk a little bit about getting your house in order, but before we do that, I want to go back to something that we talked about before, because I think there's massive value in exploring that a little bit more. So we talked about the push and pull of marketing, and can you briefly talk a little bit about what are the different type of digital marketing strategies that a business has? Like SEO, Facebook ads, but there's more than just that.
Yeah, so that kind of comes out of the strategic research that we were talking about earlier, is trying to map what strategies would be best depending on the type of business, what they're trying to market, how competitive it is.
Who their audience is.
Who their audience is, right. So looking at from a search perspective, the two most, I'll call it like popular or known, are the SEO that you've been referring to, which I really appreciate. Not a lot of people know what SEO is.
Well, it works, the best.
Yeah, that stands for search engine optimization, and that is organically or naturally doing things to your website that make it show up on the first page of Google. Because again, if you're not on the first page, it probably isn't going to work.
Can I ask you a question? Does that also help with like YouTube and other search? It's not just Google, right?
Yeah, so YouTube is another big search engine. So anything that's a search engine that's indexing and searching for the best assets. So the video would be the asset rather than the website, but it has some of the same properties and similar strategies for ranking also on YouTube. And YouTube, of course, can rank on Google.
So keywords are important in your YouTube post as well.
Yeah. And so organic SEO, has advantages that it has a long tail, it's called. So it lasts for a long time. It doesn't happen tomorrow, like when you buy an ad and tomorrow it shows up. But it has, because that's what everybody wants. What they do. But you're getting your website, which is your domain name, which we don't have time to talk about, but to be credible with Google so that it has life over time.
Right.
And over time, it can rank for lots of things, not just maybe a small set of searches that you first focused on.
Yeah, that's our business.
But and so for businesses that don't have that time, or maybe are cyclical, or want to complement their organic SEO.
Like the HVAC one, like they probably do a lot of business during the heat because everybody's air conditioning hasn't been cleaned and it overworks. So got it.
Or if you think about it, they may dial down their advertising when it's 100 degrees here because they
can't manage all of
service,
it. Yeah,
right?
They can't manage all the business.
Yeah. And so you may need to pay Google for certain search words. That's what's called pay per click, not paper like a piece of paper. People think pay every time they click. And again, there's different types of advertising with Google, but you're in a sense paying Google to be at the top of the search engine. So obviously there's a budget. That's where you have to understand the value, the lifetime value of a client to make sure that for the money you're spending, you're going to get a return on your investment, right? So those are two big pull advertising.
Right.
But then there's the whole world of social media that I think you're a queen of and know a whole lot about. And so obviously social media is publishing of content. You're forming audiences. Each of the social media channels have their own demographics that you need to match back to your marketing personas. But in most social media, you also need to invest in advertising. That's obviously an optional service. But I think people misunderstand, and I know you understand this, but that I can publish on social media and a bunch of people are going to find me, and even if you have a bunch of friends, that doesn't mean that they consumed your content.
That's 100% right.
So understanding that, understanding where people hang out in social media that are your target market, understanding the kind of content you need to publish, and more than likely having a budget to get in front of those people.
And I feel like Facebook has really got it dialed down for like the amount that you would pay to reach the type of people you can reach, especially now where everybody is really on some sort of device, that you can really target your potential, depending on what your business is, but your potential client. I mean, I just feel like it's such a good way to create content for you as well as provide, advertising, which I think that sometimes people struggle with both.
Yeah. And people need to look at it too as it's a branding activity, and branding's not bad. Branding is good, and so getting more people to know you in the area in which you serve, whether they have a need today for your service or not, that's the whole idea of marketing, to put your brand in front of
Top
them
of
and what
mind.
you do, who you are, why them, so when they need it or their friends need that service, that you remember them. So social media is a really important part of it. So's email marketing, for example. People think that's yesterday, and yet it has one of the highest conversion rates if you have a proper list.
And so that's key too, the proper list. Like, getting people to subscribe to your list, like your actual customers, building out segments for your list, because some people might want you for certain things and they don't, you're mass emailing them all the things when really you should just be targeting, breaking them up. I mean, we could do a whole thing on email lists, which we should do one day, but like, I think it would be super helpful for people to understand really that is a great marketing tool. And it's free.
There's things that,
it just costs your time.
A lot of people probably don't even realize how further targeted. I mean, there's geo-targeting, there's location targeting. I mean, you could be at I'm trying to think of a good example. Like
the movie theaters is a good one.
And an event or something. And you can geo-target. Okay, one I can think of that I did was in real estate. And this was in a major metro downtown, and it was a realtor selling a high-end condo. And so they did a geo-fence, it's called, so that when most people don't have cars in this downtown, like think of like San Francisco, even though it wasn't San Francisco, but if people were walking by, and so we had a geo fence, because it understands from your cell phone where you're located, that hey, come see our open house between 1 and 4, and you walk into that geo fence, or you walk in front of a competitor's business even. So these things, not a lot of businesses don't even know they exist. How much you could even target on location.
And I recommend to my clients to try it once, because I think if you could build out and try it once and see the results of it, and if it's done well. And what I mean by that is the messaging when you're targeting that audience. If you're messaging, like, for holidays, whatever, if you have a promo or like one open house, like try it once and see what happens. You will be sold on it, because it is crazy how well it works. Again, if your messaging is done well. And that's something that is sometimes hard for people if they're not marketing savants or whatever.
And the great thing about digital versus traditional is it's kind of okay to make a mistake, and it's really easy to tweak, navigate, pivot, change it, stop it, So you didn't send out like 10,000
mailers.
And you're like, oh crap, or even a misspelled word. It may bug you for a second, but you can fix it in a second,
Well, let's segue over into, because I don't want to not talk about this as well. I think it's so important. And I do this a lot for my clients, which is getting your home in order. And what that means is looking at all of your brand messaging, basically everywhere, and making sure it matches. Like, when was the last time you had a headshot done? Is it you in 2000, and now here we are in 2020, and you don't look anything the same? How many times do we have that?
And then you meet them, and you're like, who are you?
And then that person's on the website, and to like, when was the last time your logo's been refreshed? Does what you were going to talk about a little bit is like, how does your website upload on your mobile device or any device? I mean, so talk to me a little bit about, like, share with everybody, what does that mean to get your home in order in our world?
I mean, as far as the websites, you could pretty much think about it like just even like a laptop or even a phone. Maybe not quite a phone, but close. I mean, if you've had that site a couple years, it's done. It's yesterday. And even if you thought you liked the looks change over time, but so do screen sizes, so do the number of people who are on desktop versus mobile. Like, if you still have an iPhone 8, it's not going to upload all the apps, the latest apps. You're not going to get the full usage of them. So it's the same with your website. Like, the content when you built that wasn't designed to resize to fit all these different mobile devices. And so if your site is more than a couple of years old, probably it wasn't built to be compliant with what's needed on mobile, just as an example. And most likely, I have very few clients who have less people more than 50%. Sorry, I'm saying it backwards, but most of their traffic is coming from a mobile device. Even businesses that you wouldn't think would be that mobile friendly, the type of business, they're on phones. And so if your site doesn't render out right on phones, you're not successful. So but then there's the apps, and there's speed time, and again, Google now, like the size of the photos. If it takes forever to load a photo, and that's where your messaging is,
to capture them, you're going to lose them.
I mean, you may have to not show all the photos on the mobile version, and that can be done too. And so, if you, and again, like you said, updated content. How many times do we go to a website? First of all, you see the copyright in the footer from 5 years ago, right? And right there's a sign that that site's not being updated. So before you do anything, you really got to check out, like you said, what your home is looking like, what your social media accounts are. Do you have the right contact information on there?
There's also so much in that is around compliance. Nowadays, like you have
I'm scared to bring that up.
I know, let's not talk about it, but but there really is, and I think that's part of it. And to a lot of people, they don't know. Listen, if you're not in the digital marketing world, or you're not in the in that frame of mind where you're following what should be updated on websites, you're not going to know. You're not going to know that you have to be ADA compliant now on your website. You're not going to know a lot of things. Privacy. So that's where I think working with a digital marketing expert like really helps like manage those things. So like when you are updating your website, they're going to tell you all that stuff has to be done, because you're not going to be like, hey, I want to update my website because I have a new service I'm offering. Well, that's great, but I also looked and saw you don't have this, and that. That's what we also mean by getting your house in order, is like all that stuff as well.
The other thing too is, and this happens every single week, but is making sure that you have access to everything. Most people don't. So if you're right now looking to make a change, do you have access to your website? A website sits on a host. Do you have access to your hosting company? Right. Do you know your logins? When did you buy that domain? 20 years ago? Where is that sitting? Do you know how to get into that?
Do you have the original version of your logo?
Yes, in a high resolution format, So, I mean, this is the time. Like, there's a lot of businesses can't get in their own social media because an employee created it who's no longer with them. So they have to make sure that they have control of all their assets.
So I have this thing that I just gave a client of mine recently, a tip that I have created for the gym, and I call it the Bible, and it's like the Bible of the business. And in there is all those things, and it's kept away somewhere. So like, it's everything that you could possibly need on how to do all the systems that you utilize to run your business. And then maybe in a separate spot is the one where it has all the other information with payroll and things that they don't need access to. But literally, I think that that's a good point to have. People, I don't know,
It can be disastrous, and you can lose your domain. And if your domain has a lot of power, it's called domain authority, brand, and a lot of visits, like you're screwed if you lose that.
For sure. Well, tell us a little bit more about content.
And so content is a whole nother segment, but we can't not mention it. And so much of digital marketing and even this SEO we were talking about is based on content, and Google wants to see a growing, thriving site that's helping the audience by producing high quality content. So, and I think people fear that, or say, I'm not a writer. Well, you don't have to write it yourself, you know, and you can repurpose
you can
the
hire
content.
A content writer.
And use it for a bunch of different things. But you also have to understand about your buyer, like the buyer journey. Where are people in their buying decision that you tend to come across in your different marketing strategies? So, if you're just introducing your business to people that don't know you at all, so you'd call it like the funnel that goes to a lead, taking a bunch of people and narrowing it down to the people that you want to do business with or that want to do business with you. If you're at the top of the funnel, it's just it's a cold lead. They don't know you. Like the kind of information that they might want from you that's more general and fun and educational and interesting, you've got to think about creating that kind of content. And then as people start having a relationship with you, so let's say they're in the middle of the funnel, like they might now require different types of information,
testimonials or something, or pricing or whatever it is.
And then as they get to the bottom of the funnel, now you're like hardcore conversion. I mean, the middle might be more like coupons and specials and an infographic or something. But as they get to the buying decision, now you're trying to just they know who you are. They're just finally understanding more about what you do. That happens to me a lot in my business because people don't really get what I do. Like, oh, she's a consultant. Right. Oh, this digital world. And so that's my own challenge I have, like everybody else, is how to get people. They might know who I am, but how would I help them? And so once they get down to that, they're pretty much ready to pull the trigger. You've got to do something to get them to taken action.
Yeah.
And so your content speaks to those different places that people are in the buyer's journey.
One of the things that I talk about a lot with my clients is like, that just piggybacking on that whole term of, working smarter, not harder. So like what I'm doing with this show is I'm creating an audio version. It's going to get stripped. I'm creating a video version. It's going to get stripped down to audio, and it's going to get stripped down to written.
Yeah. Perfect.
So like however my clients want to find me, they can watch me, they can hear me, or they can read me.
Yeah.
Basically the services that we provide. And so that's one thing that I think is crucial too. The content, people get afraid like, oh, well, everybody says I should do a blog. I got to write a blog because I think it's good because it does provide an opportunity for SEO, which is what we've talked about. But what I like about the blog is you can pull from it pieces of it and use it for social media posts or, use it as a mailing, a lead generator to get your mailing list. I mean, it can be used for so many different things. I think that's the takeaway for content in the digital marketing world is it can be used in so many different ways.
And you can't avoid it. I mean, you have to have content, you know. You're giving away quality. You're letting people know who you are and what you do, and that's what people are looking for, even if they're not ready to buy right now.
Yeah, it gets them to know, like, and trust you.
You can't ignore it.
Yeah,
so.
No, I feel like it's really good. Well, is there anything else that you want to touch base on? You have another tip here? I don't want to cut you off.
I mean, the other thing would be too, when you're struggling to write content, which a lot of people are, just think in terms of FAQs. Like,
okay.
There's tips for finding websites that help you take topics into questions.
Right.
But also Google loves FAQs. They'll put an FAQ on the top of search if you have a good one. So think of FAQs, writing the question and writing the answer. Frequently asked questions.
Just for people who don't know what an FAQ is.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. Say that again, what you just said at the end about Google.
There's a piece of code you can put on FAQs that will then index it so you have a higher chance of getting that Q&A, that question and that answer at the top of a Google search if a lot of people are searching for that question.
Huge. Yep. I think that's great.
Great tip.
I know, like, with all the changes that people have made, with COVID happening to us, the FAQs around what your company is doing around COVID is like that's a huge piece of content that you can have on your website that people they want to know before they call you for your services.
And that is a great tip. I mean, just even the FAQs, but also businesses change, like how we meet with people, how we find leads, how we work with people, even our service may be different. We may have had to change what our service is. So that's another great tip for people is you need to look at, have you made the changes on your website, on your social media, on any of your properties, shooting a new video that explain how you do business now? Yeah,
which is huge. The answer should be yes.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, you can ask Amanda because I'll help you with it. Well, this has just been so much value. I could keep going, but I know we have to pause at some point. Not only to thank our sponsors and hear from them, but because your heads are probably going to explode if we continue this. So when we come back, I'm going to give a little bit more. I want you to be able to tell people where they can connect with you and where they can find you and a little bit more about your services. And then we're going to do a fun thing called Flip the Script where, this is the Ask Amanda show. So Allison's going to get to ask Amanda a few questions and we'll have some fun with that. So we will be right back.
Marketing isn't just about designing the right ad or creating the right slogan. It's about finding the right audience to engage with your ad. Capturing the attention of the right person is all it takes to make a client for life in today's digital world. Easier said than done, right? What if you knew where your audience was already spending their time? SchlickArt video podcasts provide a platform for local influencers to share their voices with key communities here in Santa Clarita. That means audience members know, like, and trust the recommendations of their hosts. That's why sponsoring a SchlickArt video podcast is a great solution for your business. You get the benefit of a built-in audience, and most importantly, you walk away with a fully produced video commercial for your business that you can use however you like. Are you ready to reach your audience where they want to be found? Call Lindsay at SchlickArt at 661-313-3907 to inquire about becoming a sponsor for your favorite SchlickArt video podcast, because it's time to join the conversation.
Welcome back to the Ask Amanda show. I'm here with my guest, Allison Lindeman. I'm sure you guys are just with everything that we just talked about. You know what? I just remembered. I wanted to mention your books that you have because I reference your books often to my clients. They don't know that, actually. I don't tell them to go buy it because I'm strange like that. But I always am pulling things out of here while I talk to them.
Makes me happy.
But that's how good it is, Allison. So Allison and her team have written 2 books now. This is the latest one, correct? Both of them can be found on Amazon. I just want to make sure I let you guys know that. But I mean, I pull from this all the time, this whole, which we should talk about this another time, but like just marketing with social media, because social listening is such, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a whole.
So if you just want to dive in a little bit more about understanding digital marketing with some really great added value, I definitely recommend you guys jumping on Amazon and picking up these 2 books. Or if you call her, she might just sign one or something. But why don't you tell people how they can get a hold of you, where they can find you, and all things Allison?
You can find me on social media, WSI eBiz, and Facebook and LinkedIn are the 2 platforms I hang out the most on. And I am also happy to give anyone that's following you a consultation. That's 30 minutes. And if someone wants just I'll call it a website review or a web presence review, I'm happy to do that too. So just if they reach out to me.
Where you like scan over their website and like
there's software that does it from a bit of a technical standpoint, but I'll also do, my own review of it and give them a few tips.
Well, that's way more than I would do. So that's a great added value, you guys. So make sure that you take advantage of that. So now we're gonna do a little fun thing where we call Flip the Script, where she gets to ask Amanda a few questions.
I've planned a few questions.
Yeah, I don't know.
For you.
So this will be fun. So go ahead.
Yeah. So this is a big one because it hits home for me too. But I mean, how do you determine whether a prospective client is a match for you? And is everyone a match? And do you pick them or do they pick you? How does it work?
It's a really good question. So no, not everyone is a match. What I'm really good at is when I first get introduced to a client, or the initial phone call, or usually I try to do a phone call because I like to hear tone of voice. Don't think I'm weird, but like if I feel like the tone doesn't match my energy in a way that I might not be a good fit, or like there's something in the tone that I really try to listen for. It also clues me in on how serious they are. A bit as well, because I don't want to just I don't say yes to everything. I mean, I've learned my lesson, their time is just as valuable as mine. So I want to make sure that they're going to get what they need out of it. But determining if they're a match, it's just really once I start asking some questions, I might not be able to help them. And I have said that before. No, I actually don't know anything about your business and your market. I don't know where to start, but I think this person does.
Right, yeah.
And then I'll do an introduction email. Here's the person I just met. Here's the person that I refer you to. And I think you 2 should meet. I think you guys would be a great help. And I have no problem. Like that would make me feel much better than me trying to tackle on something I don't know how to do. Does that make sense?
Do you research them?
A ton.
Yeah, okay.
A ton. I can't even help myself. But also I want to know what I'm getting into, because I don't know. Like I want to make sure it's a good match. So if they're calling me and they're trying to ask me about all this stuff, but then everything I'm looking at that they are, or online anyway, about who they present themselves to be online, are not matching the things that they're asking me about. And that could be tricky because they might want to grow into that new thing. So how do I fix all this? Well, that message should be clear in that conversation I have with them. But yeah, I do a lot of research. And so where do I do my research? I Google them. I looked at LinkedIn most of the times because, I'm curious to know if they're on there. And then the social media channels, but mostly just like Facebook and Instagram and sometimes Twitter. I'm not a huge fan of Twitter, so I don't really, that doesn't hold a lot of clout for me. But on those other 2, I definitely look for them. And then, I'm very community oriented. So I probably have heard about either them or their business in the community somewhere. And so there's been times that I have not wanted to work with a client because I already know the reputation that they have in the community is not somebody that's going to shine a good light on my services, because I know they're not going to listen to me.
Well, I mean, it is a partnership.
Shitty?
I mean,
But
it's a
that's true.
partnership. It's a
Yeah.
partnership. It's got to work both ways. And so not everybody's, we're not a match for everybody, and not everybody's a match for us, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't want to waste their time, and I don't want to take their money, because I know that they're not going to probably do the things that I'm going to suggest, and then it's not a good fit.
you know, you alluded to also your involvement in the community.
Yes.
So, and I mean, I'm involved, but you're hyper involved. So,
or
I
just
mean,
hyper.
but we have the same challenges of trying to be the best consultant, the best mother, you know, the best spouse, you know, the best community-minded person. And I know you're involved in a lot of nonprofits. So, I mean, how do you decide what you're going to get involved in and how much time you're going to devote to all those different...
That's a great question. I thought you were going to ask me, how do you manage it all? Because I get that question asked a lot.
Well, you can answer that too.
No, well, I mean, I just
Give
I
us a tip.
I'm good at time management. No, I say no to some things and I pick and choose, but I live by my calendar in my phone. And the alerts. And so that way I don't miss meetings, and I don't, especially now with a lot of things being in the digital world, like I don't want to miss certain things. So, but I can't be everywhere and I can't do all the things. So how do I choose nonprofits that I get involved with? If you look back at my history of the nonprofits in the community that I've been involved with, they've all been something that I have a close attachment to. So I've been involved with the SCV Senior Center because my grandpa went there every day after my grandma passed away. And he really built a community of friendships around that and had a hot meal every day. So that was one thing that I just felt I wanted to give back to. My mom also volunteered there all the time, you know, when I was younger. And then as a child and family center, I was a part of them for a long time. You know, my niece had used their services way back when. I just felt like I wanted to give back to them. Same with the Boys and Girls Club. She was a member with them.
Okay.
So, you know, I just try to give back to things that I help with.
Have a passion for.
Yeah, right now I'm the vice chair of I'm involved with the Wish Education Foundation, which both of my daughter's currently in the high school program here. So that is part of what Wish gives back to. And, you know, my son and my niece graduated from there. And then College of the Canyons. I mean, I'm an alumni, my niece is an alumni, and my son as well. So not that they're all that old, mind you, but you know, I try to get involved with things that I think I have a personal attachment to. I think the trick is for businesses, they try to get involved to get something out of it. And I know that frustrates us a lot. We talk about that, because that's not why you should give back to the community, is to what are you going to get out of it. You should literally pick a project or a nonprofit, or, you know, sit on a committee. You don't have to be on a board of everything either. Just sit on a committee and just roll your sleeves up and, you know, set up tables and take out the trash and like do whatever they need. Go in and paint the walls one day. But I think that it shouldn't be about what it's going to do for the exposure to your business. And I push that a lot. I also, at the same time, tell people when they're building out their marketing strategies for the next year that there should be a nonprofit in there somewhere, that where if you can't give your dollar amount back, you should be giving your time to.
Yeah, or maybe a little bit of both.
Or a little bit of both, which is what we do. I know a lot of. I don't know. So that's kind of how that's how I pick, and then that's how I kind of time manage it all. I think about, I never sit on more than 2 committees in a year because I just don't want to underdeliver. So I highly recommend that. Please don't be the person that sits on all the committees.
So that does answer some of the things I was wondering too, because it's just, how do you do it all? Yeah. And even especially what we talked about, saying no to clients, but it's really hard to say no to nonprofits. I know. It's harder.
This is what I do. This is how I say no to my kids. It's so rotten, but I say, like, Mom, we really wanted to get a dog. Yeah, you can have a dog. Like, what? Yeah, as soon as you move out, you can totally have that dog. Like, it's totally fine. They're like, what? So I try to say yes, but not right now. Yeah. So I commit to working with nonprofits for about 2 years, no more than that. So like, I won't sit on a committee for more than 2 years. I'll sit on the committee to kind of help them and get it going and maybe offer some changes, and then I'll do it again, but while I'm vetting somebody to take my place the next year. So I don't ever sit on more than 2 years. So it kind of
has a beginning and an end a bit.
Yeah, and then it's a transition, so that you can transition to what, you know, you put your spin on it, and you can transition it to somebody else and let them do their thing. But that's how I say yes, but I can't do it right now. But let's talk again in a year. Okay. And here's why, because I'm committed to this, and that. Yeah. I don't want them to just think like, oh, well, she turned us down. I want them to know because I'm committed to something else.
Well, definitely, I know when you're in, you're in.
Yeah, I know.
Big time. There's
no
doubt about that.
I know. We've had some fun together on some things, but.
You know, I think would be good for people to, you know, hear your response to this is just, you're always pretty darn upbeat. It doesn't mean you're happy 100% of the time. I mean, nobody is, but like, what are your tips and tricks for trying to stay positive? Because you're working very closely with, especially a couple businesses that are majorly impacted right now by what's going on in the world. So, I mean, give us some help and tips and how you wake up every day and stay focused and, positive.
Well, so, I've been through a lot of things in my life that have been difficult. Yeah. And so I always know that if I can get through, the one major difficult thing in my life, I can get through the rest. Like, I just go back to that as like a point of me, this is not that bad. That was really bad. So, you know what I mean? Like, so, but this is what I learned through all the process. And, when it's shitty, let it be shitty. When it's hard, let it be hard. But I don't let that be for like multiple days in a row. So like I might be down about something and it might just be getting to me and I'm just over it and I'll drink my wine and I'll bitch to my husband or I'll cry to my friends or whatever I do, but then I'm going to get over it. I'm not going to wake up the next day that way. So it's mindset. A lot of it is like my mindset. But then staying positive, it's like, a lot of it's out of our control. So I just try to figure out like, well, what can I control? And I struggle with that sometimes.
No, but I definitely see that with you.
Yeah.
And so despite however we get kicked from things that are going on, I mean, you never stop working your action plans.
Yeah. I stay focused on that. And because those are the things that I can control, like, and I might alter them and change them, but I control that. And I try to move my body, like every day, because being stale is like not good for your mindset either. And I take time to do things that are for me, which is very hard. I've got a house full of a lot of people and there's always things going on. But like this past weekend, I just got away for the weekend with a girlfriend and just had nothing but fun. So that's how I do it. I'm sure you have some similar things too, but that's what we do. But I do want to thank you so much for being on the show.
I love being here. Thank you.
It's so
fun. Thank you for having me.
Let's do more.
Yay.
Yeah. No, but everybody, please reach out to Allison Lindeman. Please take advantage of the web scan that she's offering. I'm going to put a lot of this in my show notes and in the contents of the video here as well so that you'll know where to find everybody. But thank you so much to our sponsors and thank you for joining me here on another episode of the Ask Amanda Show.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Do you have a topic you'd love to hear about? Or is there something you want to ask Amanda? Make sure to comment below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you get a notification whenever we post new videos.